Hey everybody, and welcome to the Worldwide Workshop. My name is Matthew, and with me as always is Justin.
This is a masterclass for early childhood educators.
A conversation about developing your excellence.
Each week we will share our perspectives, experiences, and mistakes on our journey toward better practice.
So sit down and listen up. Hi, and welcome everybody to our second episode of Worldwide Workshop. Today we're going to talk about outdoor play.
Last week we talked about being stuck, and we just wanted to give a shout out to everybody who liked and subscribed and gave us some really great feedback.
We're going to start with the feedback from Sue, who wrote in to say that it would be interesting if we could cite some articles and books that inspire us about all the topics that we're going to be talking about and discussing. And it just so happens that this week we're featuring this magazine called Play Outdoors Magazine. We're published in the first issue of this magazine, and our article is called The Red Dress. So fancy.
On page 21.
So make sure you give that a look and read, and maybe subscribe to the magazine. Anyway, so we'll be doing that from now on in our videos.
Thanks, Sue. What a great advice.
Yay. Who else?
Oh, I have another written in one.
A comment from the emails.
Yes. So you, again, can reach out to us at justinwestart@gmail.com. And we happen to have one comment from there. And it's from Tiffany Collins. I agree on all points you made, especially having that team of like-minded people and really being intentional with your work in all aspects. I would love to hear your thoughts on how teachers adapt to changing of group dynamics from year to year. Thoughts?
Well, first of all, there's kind of two questions in there, right? There's the group dynamics of the children from year to year that'll affect the way that you practice, because one year you might have a super active group that wants to be outside all the time, and you're going to be spending a lot more time playing outdoors, which is what we're going to talk about today. But another aspect of that is having a different teaching team and having to work out that dynamic. I myself have had a really rough time the last couple of years, because every year, twice a year even, I've been switching up my team. And because I'm the lead teacher in the weird dynamic that I'm teaching in my classroom, people see me as the boss. I don't know, and I really like to teach as a team, I said in the last video. So it's kind of hard to get everybody, to work with you and work with the children rather than follow your rules, and that's kind of a difficult dynamic to work out when you have children in the space. I mean, it's not like we have months to work together before we're, on with the children. So that's a really difficult thing to go through, but, you just take it day by day and try to be better, today than you were yesterday, sort of thing.
Good point.
Thanks. And one final comment that we got in emails was from Lisa. And Lisa said that the discussions we had last week about being stuck and getting yourself unstuck were not only appropriate for early childhood education, but for any profession and even life in general. When you are stuck in life, there is nobody that can get you unstuck or unstuck you, as Amanda pointed out.
Yeah.
So it's your job to be your own unstucker and get you out there and change your situation or just change your perspective. So thanks everybody for all those comments.
Thank you. Today's topic is going to be on outdoor play. And what is outdoor play? Matthew, what does outdoor play mean to you?
I'm so glad you asked me that. One of the things about outdoor play that I find really important to identify at the beginning is it doesn't just mean fresh air and sunshine. It's not enough to just be outside of inside, really. Outdoor play is about exploring a rich, diverse world that is beyond the capabilities of any one person's planning. One of the things a couple of the things that I like to make sure that are happening in outdoor play is you're down in the dirt, getting muddy, seeing what's crawling in the grass, or what cool rock you can find, or what's buried in the mud. The other option is going up, climbing up on top of rocks and taking risks, climbing trees and things like that, and getting a different perspective and a rush from being up high. And then the third kind of thing is really getting out and around your local community, seeing what's out there, seeing the world that influences your children and your neighbors, really. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with outdoor play. What about you?
Me. Outdoor play to me is similar to what you're saying too, but also being able to activate it as a space to do things that you wouldn't be able to do inside. So you could kind of spread your wings, if you will, and or play with sound or play with the environment in which you are with, so that you can really take full advantage of it.
Yeah, I find that inside, adults tend to want children to shrink themselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm the same way. We talked about it in the last video that when we're inside, we don't want them running and screaming and stuff and stuff like that. But when you're outside, you're meant to run and scream. You're meant to run down the hill or roll down the hill and scream as loud as you can from the top of the rock or the cliff. So it's a little bit different outside, and we need to encourage that. One of the things that's kind of interesting about outdoor play is that educators don't seem to have as much intentionality. And what I mean by that is they don't, I don't know if plan is the right word, or consider it effective learning time. Educators usually, to validate their learning, use documentation, which is actually what we're going to talk about next week. But so rarely do educators use documentation outside. Documentation really is for, the portfolios, the walls inside, online forms, but they don't tend to put it outside, and it doesn't really often reflect what's going on outside. However, in this magazine, there's an article in here about documenting play outside. It's one of the cover kind of articles. And
Is it Bora?
I'm not sure. Is it Bora?
I think Bora. She actually started her career here in Nova Scotia and then went to Alberta, and now she's in Ontario.
It is Bora. It's Bora Kim. Shout out to Bora. And she actually started that in her undergraduate thesis, was preparing like the most complete outdoor emergent setting. Bringing documentation outside was one of the things that she was playing with, and it was kind of the first time that I had talked about it, kind of in a focused way, or heard about it in a focused way, and then began considering it and talking about it in a focused way. The idea of documenting outside is a different animal than documenting for indoor classroom time.
And I believe it was her and Beverly that created a outdoor, what is it called?
Assessment.
Yes. And at first when I heard about that, I was like, "Whoa, what does that mean?" But actually they go through it, and it's actually really neat.
Justin's talking about Beverly Dietz, the creator and editor of Play Outdoor magazine, and Bora Kim is one of the authors inside. Yeah, they worked together on that. Yeah. I'm not sure if that was released or if it was just a school project. If it was released,
spoiler,
I would like to have one of those, because it's just great to have something to go back to give yourself a critical eye, that's completely objective, and say, hey, I don't actually have any running space in my play area outside. So what am I going to do to mitigate that? Am I going to go to a running space regularly? Am I going to find a way to let them be fast, or, take safe risk along the sidewalks or whatever? It's really great for critiquing your outdoor space and your outdoor practice. So.
And even if you don't have access to it, I mean, just look at the children that you have and see what they're doing inside. And like me, there's things that are annoying, like they're going around with a fire truck noise. And it's like, well, that'd probably be better outside. So how can I help them outside to do that noise, where maybe I'm not in earshot of that annoying high pitch?
It's so funny, because the annoying things in the classroom tend to be some of the most exciting bits of documentation once you get past your own adult issues with that annoying kitties in the classroom. Oh, I have no time for kitties in the classroom, but or sirens or screaming in particular. But yeah, so turn it into a yes, make it happen outside, and have fun with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's time for our first commercial break. We'll see you in a second.
Hey, are you looking for an ad space to promote your personal business? Just send us an email at justinwestart@gmail.com for your own audio ad and shout out in our next YouTube video. We can include logos, photos, and other contact information for your business. Thanks and enjoy the rest of the video.
And we're back. So now we're going to talk about how to prepare yourself in your classroom for outdoor play. Justin, what do you do?
First, I always start with the right clothes and knowing that I am going to go outside and I am going to play. Because the thing is I don't want to do is just sort of stand around and just not do anything.
Well, you don't want to have that excuse, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I can't go outside because I only have my indoor shoes, or I can't go outside because I only have my spring coat and I don't have my sweater. Yes, I'm talking to you. Bring your sweater and just leave it on a hook. It doesn't hurt anybody.
That's right.
Anyway.
So that's kind of where I'm at, where I know that I'm actually in Nova Scotia and the weather could be rainy one minute, snowing, and then 20 degrees the next. So I want to make sure that I'm prepared for all seasons and knowing that I am going to go outside because the children really do appreciate that. And I'm not going to think like, oh, the child is too cold, then I'm not going to go there. They might be bored or something like that. So that's where I do that. And then I think about what are they going to do outside? What are we going to see? And leave room for the unexpected.
Well, that's something that I reflect on in my article.
We are pushing this.
We are pushing this book. In the article of the red dress, I was reflecting on how I really could have been better prepared for outside by bringing like magnifying glasses and bags and paper and stuff like that. We want to be able to collect. Kids always want to collect a really good leaf, a really good stick, a special shiny rock that is, gold or diamonds to them. We want to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
We want to be prepared with our magnifying glass to see the things that are too small for the eye. Where's that ant going? What is it doing? What does it look like when it's moving? We want to be prepared for that. And also something that I learned from my mentor, Bobby Lynn Keating, is that you should bring out clipboards with paper and pencils. Maybe it was Bobby, maybe it was Annette. It was when I worked with that dynamic duo. But they wanted me to bring out drawing materials and something to draw on. So we always have a couple of clipboards with pencils attached and paper, and it would give the kids an opportunity to represent what they're seeing, or be inspired by outside even and represent their thoughts and feelings. So
it reminds me of when Matthew and I actually worked together at Peter Green Hall, and we would go to a place called the Oaks, which is a local outdoor space.
Which is where the red dress happened, actually, funny enough.
And I remember we were talking because it's kind of annoying to carry all the stuff to and from all the time. So we decided to get a Tupperware bin and put stuff inside it and then hide it at that place, like under a tree. And then whenever we got there, we could just open it up and it would be our outdoor tickle trunk kind of.
It kind of reminded me of Fred Penner's place, actually, because he would have these little like cubby holes in the logs where like, oh, his guitar is in there and stuff like that. Also funny about that is we had a little bit of criticism in our emergent curriculum groups about leaving things at the playground, or not at the playground, at the park, at the natural spaces. And people thought it was potentially disrespectful or like littering because we were leaving non-natural things in natural spaces while we weren't there. So, all things to consider. So maybe your park doesn't allow you to do that. Oh my God. And there was that one time at Point Pleasant Park where we went around and we were doing kind of like a scavenger hunt, and we had set little bags with clues in them to get to the next spot. And the final clue went to this suitcase full of like challenge games that we were going to do that day. It was kind of like a big sort of culmination of mapping and searching around. Anyway, I had left this suitcase full of art materials and prizes and stuff at Point Pleasant Park underneath a war memorial, and then thought that was fine, walked away from it, went back to the bus to meet my group of kids who were coming with the other teachers. And the police showed up, and as the children were running toward me, they ran toward me, and like they're like, why are these children running toward this like terrorist person? And they're like, what's going on? What are you doing? What packages were you leaving? I was like, oh, it's a game we're playing. And yeah, it was the day that I almost got arrested at work. Yay! So make sure you're always communicating with your parks people and being aware of what you can and can't do outside in public places.
And I think just to go back to the whole point of this preparing for outdoors, there is moments where you're not able to prepare, but just know the children in which you are working with and knowing what they'll need to use. And there might be some things that you might bring that you don't know what they're going to do, but just having things available, or
like open-ended materials.
Yeah, open-ended materials, or also you yourself go out on a walk and just experience the outdoors on your own, and then you can go back with the children and then see how they did it, and you could like sort of have that back and forth with the children saying, oh, well, I would have done this, and then they kind of see you as more of a peer rather than like a different hierarchy or something like that.
Yeah, that's a really good example of reflective practice, which is what people are trying to promote this year in our school board anyway.
Yeah.
Really talking about culturally reflective pedagogy and things like that. But it's really about having a perspective and setting that aside, and then taking the perspective of the children and interacting with that perspective and reflecting that back. So yeah. One other final little thing that I like to make sure that I bring on all my walks is a couple of little books. So I am a lover of Robert Munsch books and many other books, but Robert Munsch books come in these little tiny like 3-inch by 3-inch little, quick versions. And I have like 12 of them that are just always in my backpack. So if there's that, that one kid or, that little group of kids that's not really into climbing the rock today and they just kind of are feeling a little bit quieter, I'll sit with them under a tree and have like, a story of the week moment of the teacher sitting under the tree reading the book to the kids sort of thing. And sometimes what does it do? Sometimes it inspires a new kind of play outside because, if you read the way that I read, I'm really animated. I make different voices. I make a fool of myself. And and sometimes that can inspire a different play as well. Especially the book like Mud Puddle. Read Mud Puddle outside in a park where there are mud puddles and, see how fast you have to change the kids when you get back soaked and rolling in mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other prepares for outdoors?
Just, the old cliche, be prepared for, or expect the unexpected. If you're not prepared for it, try to do it anyway, because you can't prepare for everything. And like in the article, the red dress, we saw red dresses around St. Mary's. I didn't know what they were about. I didn't know why they were there. I certainly didn't research it ahead of time, and I certainly wasn't educated on that topic, which is a very serious topic. So when the children asked me to read about that, there was like a little card with it that explained the art project, the political art project. I'm not really sure how to label it, but as they got me to read it, I realized how serious it was. And I felt the responsibility to just go there. We were only supposed to be on a 30, 40 minute walk, but it was definitely going to take more time than that to deal with the idea of missing Indigenous women, murdered and missing Indigenous women. So yeah, check out that article. It'll make you think different, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it's time for our next commercial break. We'll be back in a few.
Hey, are you looking to do home improvements?
Yeah, but anyone I call doesn't show up, or the work they do just isn't great.
Well, you should try Perfect Tile and Flooring. Just ask for Moon. He can install bathrooms, kitchens, and a whole lot more.
Really? Have you seen his work, though?
My bathroom felt like indoor outhouse, cracked tiles, stained tub, and holes to the outside world. Moon, from Perfect Tile and Flooring, came in and worked his magic. Our disaster bathroom was transformed into a relaxing oasis.
Really? He sounds great. How can I get a hold of him?
You can go to his Facebook page at Perfect Tile and Flooring. He is fully insured and accredited by the Better Business Bureau.
Wow, thanks, Justin.
And we're back. Now we're going to move on to talking about the problems with the outdoors. Matthew, what are some problems being outdoors?
Okay, so when I think of problems outdoors, I really kind of think to myself excuses for not going outdoors. And one of the big things is bad weather. Again, living in Halifax, living on the coast, living anywhere really, everywhere has weather, unless you're in San Diego, California. Dealing with weather, maybe it's snowing, maybe it's raining, maybe it's windy, maybe it's minus 10 degrees, maybe it's plus 25. Bad weather can, stop you from wanting to go outside, from the motivation. And if you're like me, I suffer from seasonal depression. So in the winter season, I'm suffering from a lack of vitamin D from the sun and sunlight in general. So, it makes me really introverted and overly emotional and cranky. I end up taking sick time due to it because I can't go to work when I'm not feeling kind. You can't work with kids when you're not kind. But yeah, so I kind of turn that excuse around and say, if I don't go outside, I'm not going to be worth teaching today. So I'm going to have to make myself go outside in the rain at 2 degrees weather when it could be freezing rain. I'm going to have to make myself go outside in the snow and have fun making a snowman. My coworker this year, actually, it was her first real winter in Canada. She has moved here from India, and our last winter wasn't quite snowy enough to play in the snow. But this year in December, we got a real snowfall our last day before school ended. And she lit up, was so excited. It was like it was her birthday. She looked around, she felt at peace. She was playing more than she's ever played. All the stress of everything that goes on at work for her went away. And I was just so excited to see that. She built her first snowman. She wanted to take pictures and selfies and send it back home to her family. And it's just so wonderful to take advantage of weather that, may seem inconvenient or problematic and really see the best part of it. Another example, I remember an old coworker, Janice, and a documentation that one of the parents had done about her son's new rubber boots, rain jacket. That's
and
what it
rubber
was.
boots.
Yeah, his new rain suit. He was the first one to show up to daycare that day, and he was wearing a new yellow rain jacket and new yellow boots. And Janice knew just how to work those things in. He was the only child there, so she took him out right away, completely unplanned, off the cuff, put on her jacket and boots, and went out there and jumped in those puddles before other kids showed up. And it was just such a magical moment to be like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
This is what the learning is. It's not just about learning letters and, better art skills. It's about getting out there and experiencing the world in such a joyful way. So that's always it makes me emotional to think about how special that moment was for not only the child and the teacher, but even the parent talking about it afterwards. I'm almost crying right now even talking about it.
But we were there.
But we were there when she presented that to the group at a staff meeting one day. It was just fantastic. Yeah. What about you, Justin? What are some problems for you in going outside that you've experienced?
The biggest one was being in the city, and you didn't have much green space, because a lot of the times when we read articles or we talk to other people, they talk about children having trees to climb or grass to roll around in.
It's what I said at the beginning of the video.
And what if you don't have that? What if you just have buildings and concrete? How do you interact with that? So for me, with my example, is just that I remember going on walks and asking the children to show me their community or show me how they see it. And so we would be rolling around on the sidewalk, and in doing that, we're feeling the texture of the sidewalk and the way that it would feel on our skin. We're looking inside the cracks of how the sidewalk breaks and how there might be ants or bugs, or like there actually is, what is it? Those yellow flowers? Dandelions?
Dandelions?
Yeah, like those are coming out and they find that so fascinating. But because we bring magnifying glasses or drawing materials like paper and stuff, we can activate that and still work within the city limits of that.
Yeah, another thing that is really funny, it's your example, but I'm going to tell it since, we're a married couple and I'm allowed to tell your story.
Sure.
One time when we were working at Peter Green Hall, Justin went out with his art materials and started to draw with sidewalk chalk on the sidewalk.
Well, actually, it was paint watered down.
Oh.
And each child had a paint, like, squeeze bottle.
But still watercolor paint.
Yeah.
Water-soluble paint.
And we were, we're in the city and...
Halifax, downtown.
We were just kind of figuring out how to walk as a group because they just moved from juniors to preschoolers.
And it's a community that the children are always in, and it's very welcoming to children, we thought. And then...
So the children got to take a color and be the leader. So they got to follow the color to wherever they were going, and the rest of the children would follow. So we went around the entire block, and all the children had the opportunity to make their mark, leave it, and still there's some sort of art aspect to it.
And then...
we got a call from a community member to the director, who, by the way, I told the director that we were doing this, and she said, well, it's raining, it's not a big deal. And she looked at the paint. It was definitely going to wash away. But they called and they complained, and the city actually called and complained and said that we vandalized the sidewalks. And this was happened during the children's nap time. And then I had to tell them when they woke up that they had to clean the sidewalk. Clean the sidewalk. And then there we are with soap and water and mops and stuff like that, scrubbing the sidewalk in front of the center because, anyway, that was that aspect. And then the parents and the children learned quite a lesson that day of advocacy.
Well, and it reminds me of my example of being in the park. Like, you've got to check with your surroundings and be respectful. But also, not really. Like, go out there and let the community see that children are there and that color can be in their world. And, even if you have to clean up afterwards, just that joy of going around. Like, people need to see that is in the community. Anyway. The last problem with going outside that I experience is dealing with a lazy teacher, that being a teacher who's not inspired by going outside or just doesn't want to go for a walk or whatever, or kids who don't want to go outside because they have other plans. They want to keep doing their mixing inside. That's fine. And what I do about that, obviously, I break the group up. I just take a small group with me in my backpack. I make sure I have communication to, get to somebody if I need help. And we don't go far, usually just, probably not crossing any roads or anything like that. But just taking a small group out with yourself, sometimes you'll see different personalities emerge when they're not in the whole group. So I'm sure people do this all the time in the classroom, having small groups to see this. But taking a small group outside can really change your perspective on, what's possible for certain children. So
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, so that is our video for today. Next week, we're going to be talking about documentation, both indoors and outdoors, hopefully. And we'd really like to keep hearing lots from you guys and hearing, through email, through the comments. Also, my mother saw the video and she didn't want to subscribe because she thought she had to pay to subscribe to a YouTube channel. You don't have to pay. You just click the subscribe button and it's free to you. It just lets you know when our videos are up whenever you're online. So feel free to click subscribe to our videos and anybody's videos. It costs you nothing and it's really good for our videos. So. And
a shout out and a big thank you to Michael Pellicaro for editing and doing all these hours of making the video put together. So he did a great job. So we should shout out to him.
He's got a lot of feedback too. People are really loving his commercial spot.
So thank you to him.
And thank you to you guys for listening this week and
Tuning in.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Editor Mike here. Just before this video ends, make sure to go over to my channel, top link in the description, and subscribe. Also subscribe to the Worldwide Workshop for more weekly videos. Both are free and help out a lot. Thanks, and see you guys in the next video.